Goes without saying, Season 3 Part 2 is hype. Super hype. I am ready! Most of the characters have raised so poorly, it's no wonder their views are so corrupted and in some form, dangerous. Zeke is no exception. It was inevitable to learn his backstory, but that time has come. Needless to say, it's depressing as I expected. However, it's the presentation and the writing that made the chapter heartfelt and emotional. The ending definitely took a turn that will have fans desperate for answers. The majority of the chapter is based around the backstory of Zeke. It explains a lot of moments that involve with Grisha, as well as explaining some of the elements in the later years that is actually creepy. There are a few interesting notes on its lore. It makes me wish for an encyclopedia by the time the series ends. It's quite fascinating. Above all, it contains a hardship, painful, and depressing childhood. Right from the beginning, Grisha influenced Zeke about leaving the cage, that is Marley, and go past beyond the wall to see the world outside. It is an opportunity to see life beyond. More importantly, to be free. The sight gives you an impression of a happy family. Everyone is smiling all together. It goes down the drain when the janitor appears and throws water at them. The sad part is he was nice for a brief moment before realizing the audience is clearly racism. As the quote goes, the world is wrong. It must be changed. This is Grisha's character in a nutshell, and as a father, he passed down to his son, placing huge weights on his shoulder. From there on, it was the beginning of a downward spiral. Because of the pressure, Zeke was forced to join the military. The problem is not just being forced, but lack the willpower to strive through. He wasn't suited for it. Magev shows sympathy, something I appreciate from a man with concerns. I mention this because this is where Grisha the father lacks, and it will only grow worse. All you care about Zeke is whether he will be part of Marley's military for the sake of the mission. Newsflash, your son's health comes first. It's irritating enough for him to pressure him. It is worse when he believes his action isn't bad because he's doing what's best for everyone. Zeke will understand one day, according to him. Okay, while Zeke spends his time with his grandparents because, you know, parenthood is all about freedom fighting. There's an interesting note on the tragedy of Lago. It's an interesting lore information considering the fall of Marley by the hands of the Eldian Empire. The event covers the tragedy of Marley's city, Lago, and lost many lives. It is similar to World War aftermath. There are people that remain detestable towards a race or culture because of history. His grandfather is heavily concerned with Zeke's well-being. Once again, something Grisha lack of. He was worrying about Zeke being misinformed about history. In other words, being taught differently for biased reason. The later scene, sadly, does justify it. Zeke falsely claimed he wanted to become a warrior for his behalf. It's painfully clear that Zeke only joined to please his parents, trying to earn something that is missing. The picture shot of Grisha and his sister holds a strong metaphor, a sign that changed a man forever. By this point, you already got the idea that Zeke has no normal childhood. There is no true normal family foundation. When it comes to father-son bond, there is hardly any. They only connect when the mission is involved. Father of the year? He will never be. He also showed clear biasness when teaching his son. Apparently, Lago's tragedy is a total farce and Eldians are pure innocent. Whether the story is true or not, there's no need to glorify one aspect, like how some media glorify a country as the most respectful nation of all time. But that's fine for Zeke because he can bond with him. That's just sad. The downhill continues with his struggle in the military. Part of me wants to believe Magev disciplined him for the sake of his benefit. He was concerned earlier, so it's not far-fetched to believe it. Things weren't looking good for Zeke. That is until he meets Tom Xavier, the guy from the last chapter's ending. He's the father figure. Zeke truly wished for. He was the Beast Titan shifter before Zeke. In hindsight, it's a poetic display of a man passing down the torch like a father to his son. Despite being a shifter, there wasn't any work for him, so he took the job of a Titan researcher. In the meantime, he's playing catch to kill time, or so one would think. It was at this moment where he and Zeke start to bond. It's also the beginning of true happiness. Zeke's smile does leave a warm feeling. That's how bad he had. Whenever the scene focuses on his family, it gradually grows worse and worse. This is when the Resistance are pleading Grisha to get things started before it's too late. He reassures him that Zeke got this taken care of, for he will become a warrior, no exception. This put a huge pressure on top of already huge pressure from earlier on Zeke. This is too much for a boy. There's no any sign of concern on his mental health. The parents keep on pressuring him like their life depends on it. I mean, it does, but that's the problem. It does. The one line that disturbed me heavily, honestly, is from Grisha to Zeke. You are our son. Why is that disturbing? When you look at his appearance and context behind the reasoning, it's rather creepy when you reflect the moment back in Shadi's backstory. Remember how Grisha looks very frightening, hell-bent to go bloody with Eren? He didn't let Shadi's to get into his business because Eren is his son. That was the reflection of his dark, cold obsession of the past. If anything, Eren's mother is what brought balance, but after her death, it's straight to hell for both of them. Symbolic or not, it makes eerily sense. Zeke undoubtedly had it rough. When his parents came to watch his performance, Grisha had a look of disappointment and heartbroken. Sadly, it's not because of Zeke as his son, but Zeke as a boy with a mission. This is disheartening to see awful parenting, not a concern for his mental state. At least Tom shows genuine sympathy for him. Easily, he's far more likable than the father. Speaking of likable, there's another scene with him and Zeke, more clear evidence of a true sincere father-son bonding. Whenever the chapter focuses on them, the atmosphere is light, tender, and comforting in compare. Zeke asks him about his reason to become a warrior since his is only drawn by force. It's like he's asking for a reason to care about having a purpose. Tom only became a warrior for research purpose, as he has grown fascinated with the Titans' history. He expressed with real interest and happiness. Zeke once more has a genuine smile. This was a true family moment. Now, here comes the fall. Zeke eavesdropped the military and learned that the Eldian restorationists are close to be discovered. It's only a matter of time that he and his family are done for. This actually proves Zeke was telling the truth about his betrayal towards his parents. It's not like Zeke ratted them out because he wanted to be loyal to Marley. I thought this is a good detail since before it made Zeke seem like a genius that decided to backstab his family. This makes it more realistic. However, the following scene is what left Zeke no choice but to pull a betrayal. The family dinner is best described as awkward and depressing. The atmosphere and lighting are enough emphasis on the dreary tone. After the poor performance, Grisha has nothing to say, continuing to look disappointed. This hurt Zeke badly. He couldn't hold back his sadness any longer. It's only going south from here. The parents continue to pressure him more and more until Zeke essentially say his life will be okay to meet the same fate as his Aunt Faye. Ouch. This absolutely triggered Grisha, confirming her death has traumatized him heavily. Zeke's final effort to save his family is to beg them to stop their action. They are awestruck by a simple kid's wish. It's like they heard their son has murdered someone. There's no happiness for him. Watching him tear up was heartbreaking. All he wanted was a normal life, and it finally broke him that his family can give him that wish. I have to admit, I was also moved by Grisha's last line about his sister. He's so broken apart. All he wanted was to see a ship, and the price cost his life to be shattered. That was painful. Zeke told Tom about his parents and what they are. This leads to Tom's only suggestion, practically give Zeke ultimatum. I really like the fact Tom isn't there to be evil, let alone hiding anything despite the reveal later on. The fact is, Tom truly cares about Zeke and it pains him to come up with a plan. That's true fatherly love. That all said, it was him that suggested Zeke to rat his parents in order to save him and his grandparents. Undoubtedly, it's a hard decision, but it can lessen the damage. Zeke was convinced to pull the trigger after Tom gave him hard-hitting points about his parents that never showed any real affection towards him. Essentially, he was seen as a tool more than a son. The chapter was enough to believe it, and so Zeke rats them out. Now it makes sense why that scene happened. It's amazing how Isayama ties it in greatly. Tom has a genuine heartfelt reaction to Zeke's decision, easing his pain from losing his parents. This was touching. There's a very interesting new lore detail. After a time skip, Tom has learned a couple of new info on the descendants of Ymir and their connection to the founding Titan. Zeke thought it was based on manipulating memories, but instead, it's about to change the composition of the bodies. Based on Tom's research, 600 years ago, there was an epidemic where people died and the population plummeted hard. It was only until the holder of the founding Titan put a stop to the plague. It's all done by simply rewriting the composition of the descendants that was favorable to the situation. This is quite interesting. This would explain how people shift to Titan, like change the body out of thin air. It's not like zombies, where the body decomposes. Titan literally gives them a body of a, well, Titan. It makes sense when you look back. Also, it's interesting yet eerie how the descendants are practically part of founding Titan's flesh, metaphorically speaking, since the holder can alter through them as well. It sounds to me this revelation will play a role in the current timeline. However, Eren utilizes it. We know Zeke's answer, and it's rather disturbing. Because of this knowledge, he thought it would be really wise to change to make sure they cannot bear a child. Well, that got awkward really fast. His idea of peace is to wait for their extinction. If they can't bear a child, the race will eventually die without the next generation. Once they're gone, is the end of suffering. Hell, he even said his birth was a mistake. If he wasn't born, life would be better. That's pretty twisted. This is your creation, Grisha. Tom may be innocent, but it doesn't mean his past is all sunshine. No, he doesn't reveal to be evil. Rather, his status is seen as one. The true reveal is actually heartbreaking because not only he didn't deserve it, but it fits in the theme of the chapter, let alone the backstory. He's actually an Eldian. He had a family, but once his wife learned about his heritage, she committed suicide as well as taking their child's life. It's shonen, Isayama. Give me a friendship speech. Thanks to his innocence, which is a miracle in this world, I felt really bad for his loss. There's also a deep yet disturbing imagery of him grabbing the baseball from the ground where his family's bodies lie. That's torture. He revealed it because his first intention to become a warrior was to have a slow path to his own death. He literally did nothing wrong, but his race is what killed it. Could you imagine if Isayama uses non-fictional race? Controversial galore. I can see why he was awestruck by Zeke's word. They connect in many ways, and sadly, suffering is one of them. All those baseball catching make me realize why Zeke as Beast Titan does nothing but tossing. It's like a tribute to him. The details Isayama does is astonishing. Zeke's end goal is revealed, and as you can guess it earlier, it's pretty insane. He has attained the Beast Titan already, so now he needs to bring forth the Founding Titan. Once that's clear, he can begin the execution to Eldians, wiping out from existence. He believes this is saving them. Holy crap. Now this begs the question, is Eren aware of his intention? Surely this is not what Eren has in mind. After the chapter is abundantly clear, Zeke is a foil character. He wants to end them. Eren wants to save them. He despises the world he's born in. Eren is free because he's born here. Amazing how much their worlds contrast. The chapter shifts back to the present, and after the flashback, I now know how twisted his view truly is. Before, I didn't understand his method outside of trying to save Eldians. Now, I find him to be dangerous and frightening, even when he's all tied up. The weight of his words has increased a lot. Now his words make sense back in the last chapter. He meant it what he said about cherishing Levi's comrade's life. He was drawing close to reach his goal, but Levi keeps ruining it. Then the chapter ends on a hell of a cliffhanger. Zeke is capable to go batshit insane, and that's why he decided to go all out by triggering the spear. His roar cry was enough to show his insanity. Levi looked certain that Zeke wouldn't dare to explode. But hey, shit happens. One final glance at them, somewhat discouraging, and then boom! Explosion. That certainly threw me off. If only Levi squeezed in a line, "You are terminated." Did they die? I don't think so. But I got a bad feeling Levi may be badly wounded. He may end up handicapped. As for Zeke, his body split apart, but I don't think he's dead. It all depends on how fast he can regenerate. Talk about suspenseful ending. I thought this was a really well-written chapter with really good emotional moments. Whether you feel bad for Zeke or not, you can understand his motive, struggle, and corruption. The presentation is stellar. It has great images of metaphors, symbolisms, and raw emotions from character. The impact hit me badly. Hard to imagine a child slowly raised to a corrupted person. It dived in well enough to understand the depth of his character. Lastly, the cliffhanger left me gasping for air. I don't know where this is heading to, but it's getting more and more interesting. The fate of those two is impending. And that will do it for the review. I hope you enjoyed this one. I don't want to take this credit, but someone that read it addressed a page where it can actually show you the contrast between Zeke and Eren. It's really amazing how much detail Isayama really put into the page or panel or whatever the scene it could be. Is when Willie's talk about how he wants Eldians to go out but he doesn't want to die or something like that. It's really fascinating. Do check it out. It's a hell of a foreshadow. What do you think of the chapter? Is Zeke dead? Levi dead? What is the outcome for those two? Share your thoughts in the comment section. If you like this and want more of this, subscribe to my channel and my world will be yours to stay. Until next time, take care.